I am Sergeant Raymond Kepler of the Davis Police Department. What you are about to hear is several days' worth of diary entries from UC Davis student Katie Spencer. Her whereabouts are unknown, and all trails of our investigation have run cold. I do not have authorization to release these extracts online, but the pleas of her family and friends have forced me to take desperate measures. I am hoping that by putting them online, they can reach someone who has information to offer.
September 2nd, 2015. I'm writing this on the back of the bus from Modesto to Davis. I always loved my trips back to my hometown, but my God, this one just completely went to shit. I was there for 3 weeks before starting my third year of medical school at UC Davis. I had such a great time with my family and friends, hitting up all our old hangouts, meeting up with high school friends who had gone to college all across the country. Everything was going perfectly until 2 nights before I was supposed to go back to college. It was Friday night, and me and a bunch of former classmates were going to meet at my friend Megan's house. We got some pizza and a whole lot of beer. We were ready to get trashed and have a great time. When I got to Megan's, it was a random grab mix of people. There were quite a few people I knew well, but also quite a few whose names I barely remembered, as well as a couple of people from the year ahead and the year behind. It didn't matter, though. Everybody mixed well, aided by alcohol, of course. Once the party got into its stride, time flew by. Midnight came and went, and although I was having a good time, the effects of the alcohol began to hit me. I decided to step out into Megan's backyard to get a breath of fresh air and sober up. I had been sitting in the backyard for about 5 minutes when Dylan came out of the back door. Dylan had been in my grade at school. He was a sweet kid, but kinda socially awkward, especially around girls. He smiled as he approached before slumping down on the bench beside me without saying a word. He was sitting unnaturally close to me, staring off into the middle distance. I shifted, slightly unsure of what to do. He cleared his throat and finally broke the silence.
You know, it's really great to see you, Katie.
Ha! It's great to see you too, Dylan. He chuckled a little before looking back at the house. So how's community college going then? Got many friends there? How about a girlfriend?
Nah. I talked to a few of the guys in my class, but all of the girls are totally stuck-up bitches.
Aw, come on, Dylan. Don't be like that. I know you're a nice guy. You'll find the right girl sooner or later.
Thanks, Katie. You were always so nice to me.
We sat there listening to the breeze as well as the faint shouts and laughter from inside the house. Dylan took out a hip flask of what smelled like whiskey and took a long swig from it.
You want a little?
He said, offering me the flask. Ha! No thanks, I've already had too much.
Suit yourself.
As we sat together on the bench, he edged closer to me until we were pretty much shoulder to shoulder. It felt a little awkward, but I thought, what the hell, this is my old pal Dylan. Pretty tipsy at this stage, I leaned my head down on his shoulder. Don't worry, Dylan. That perfect girl is out there. You just have to keep looking. In a liquor-induced haze, I closed my eyes. I listened to the muffled music from inside and drifted away. I felt Dylan put his right arm around me and draw me a little closer. This didn't bother me until he took my hand in his other hand. He had never been one for physical contact, even with his close friends, so this really took me by surprise. I tried to just go with the flow for a bit, but after a while, it just got too awkward. I wanted to break the tension, so I leaned away from him slightly, turning my face towards his. Dylan, As I turned to face him, he leaned closer to me trying to kiss me. I jumped back in shock. I feel bad about my reaction now, but it was just such a surprise. Dylan, what are you doing?
I just thought...
He stood up, buried his head in his chest, and walked across the garden towards the side gate. I got up and ran after him. Dylan, hang on. We can talk.
Why do you have to react like that, Katie? Why do you have to be like that? I thought you were different.
No, Dylan, I didn't mean to, I just...
Leave me alone.
After he got through the gate, his brisk walk turned into a jog and then a sprint as he tried to get away from me and the party. For my remaining day and a half in Modesto, I spent pretty much all of my time trying to contact Dylan. Neither I nor any of my friends knew where he lived, so that just left his cell phone and Facebook. He didn't answer any of my calls or messages, so that meant I had no choice but to take the bus back to Davis, with everything still up in the air. I feel like shit right now, but I think a few days at UC Davis will allow me to regroup and contact Dylan again. I'm sure everything will be okay in the end. September 5th, 2015. Okay, so I've been back for a few days now and still no response from Dylan. I've talked it over a lot with my new roommate Caitlin. She's awesome. She also thinks that things will work out and that Dylan is probably just embarrassed. She says he'll come around sooner or later. On a brighter note, my classes are going well. My schedule is much less complicated than my sophomore year. Yay for progress! Adios, diary. September 7th, 2015. Today was horrible. I drank way too much coffee yesterday and barely slept a wink last night. I spent all day trekking around between campus administration, my professor's office, and my dormitory, trying to sort out the rest of my paperwork for the semester. Honest to God, by the end of the day I was so tired my mind must have been playing tricks on me. On my final trip back across campus around 9:30, I could have sworn somebody was following me. I'm sure it was some combination of tiredness and innate paranoia, but every time I looked around, there seemed to be this character in a dark top and jeans lurking in the distance. After I got back to the dormitory, I realized how ridiculous I was being. There are hundreds of guys walking around campus in the evening. Why the fuck did I think any one of them would be following me? It's crazy. Anyway, it's all good. Tomorrow's Caitlin's birthday and we're all going out for dinner at a nice restaurant near campus. We're just gonna let our hair down and chill. Peace out. September 12th, 2015. Okay, so the last few days have been beyond fucking weird. On Saturday night, I came home early from Caitlin's birthday party. They were all heading to a bar after the restaurant, but I didn't really feel like it, so I made it an early night. I got back to my dorm and was asleep by 11. This is where Caitlin's part of the story comes in. She said that her and her boyfriend were coming back around 2:30 a.m. when they noticed something strange. As they walked along the path that took them by the back of our dorm building, they noticed a dark figure standing outside. As they got closer, they realized he was inserting something into the bottom of the window frame, as if he was trying to force the window open. Caitlin's boyfriend Jimmy shouted out, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" As soon as the guy heard him, he turned and ran. Jimmy ran after him towards the darkened southeast gate of the university, but couldn't catch up with him. When I woke up the following morning, Caitlin and Jimmy told me the whole story over breakfast. After they finished explaining, I asked, "So, did you recognize the guy? What did he look like?" I wasn't ready for the response at all. Well, I didn't get a good look at him, but he had scraggly shoulder-length red hair, black jeans, and a gray slipknot shirt. My heart jumped into my mouth as soon as he said it. This was an almost perfect physical description of Dylan. He always joked about how he was going to be buried in that Slipknot t-shirt. He wore it absolutely everywhere, but it couldn't have been him. That would just be too fucking weird. I mean, geez, there must be 100 guys around campus fitting that description. This is what I told myself, at least. I told myself it wasn't him, and I told myself not to worry. Until 2 days later. That's when the signs started to go up. University security started putting up signs warning us of an unknown character who had been spotted lurking around the dorms at night. Apparently, there had been 4 different sightings over the previous week, and we were all told to be on the lookout for a young man with shoulder-length red hair, jeans, and a gray t-shirt. There it was again, that perfect description of Dylan. Nobody else in the dormitory seemed to be bothered about the warnings, but I was permanently on edge. The final straw came yesterday morning. I got up to go to my first class and found an envelope had been slipped under my front door. I opened it, and inside was a small note that simply said, "Someday soon, you will see that your actions have consequences. Dylan." This time there was no denying it, no avoiding it or persuading myself that it was somebody else. The letter was signed. I went into a complete fucking tailspin. What did he mean that my actions have consequences? Was that actually him hanging around outside the dorms at night? I refused to accept that. I skipped my first class because I just couldn't fucking face it after that. Instead, I decided to take action. I was going to find some picture of Dylan online and take it to both the police and campus security. I didn't want to, but I had to. It was for his own good. I sat down, opened my laptop, and started scanning social media. After about 10 minutes of fruitless searching, Caitlin arrived home. I must have had one hell of an expression on my face because she immediately asked me what was wrong. I explained everything and she helped me calm down. When I was in a calmer state, she addressed the issue of going to the police. She was adamant that I should take more of an effort to contact Dylan or his family directly and try to hash it out. Maybe even go back to my hometown if necessary. She said that involving the police will kick off a huge shitstorm that would be impossible to reel in. Of course she was right. We sat and talked for another hour before she had to head off to class. I decided to take the day off and finalize my plans. I was going to go back to Modesto and sort this out once and for all. Dylan was no weirdo, and he was certainly no monster that I had needed to be afraid of. The next weekend would be the weekend that ended all of this. Update, 2:30 a.m. I can barely write this. I can barely stop my fucking hands from shaking for long enough to write this. He's here. Whoever it is that's been hanging around outside the dormitories is here. He's standing 20 yards from the building, staring directly at my window. He's been there for 15 minutes. I'm only writing this down as a pretense, a decoy that will stop him from realizing that I've noticed him. I want to scream for help, but basically everyone in my dorm is at a party that's happening at another dorm. The building's practically empty, and he'd realize straight away what I was doing. Oh my God. Could I just run for it? I'm really not much of a runner. Oh, Jesus Christ. I just looked out the window again. He's closer than he was last time. What the hell is he going to do? Okay, to hell with this. I'm just gonna run. Someone will be there. Someone will hear me. Update, 4:25 a.m. I've just barely calmed down enough to think, but there's no way I'm gonna be able to go back to sleep, so I may as well write this down. After I wrote my final message earlier on, I put down my journal before sprinting for the door. As soon as I did, the figure outside did the same. At least that's what I thought at the time. I sprinted along the corridor of the dorm, desperately looking for somebody. Anybody. It was probably only 20 seconds, but it seemed like an eternity. I was reaching the end of the corridor with my throat dry and my stomach in knots. Then I heard something from outside. Sirens. I ran to the door, and about 50 yards away, I saw several police officers wrestling with a young man and trying to subdue him. I raced towards them, praying that I wouldn't see a familiar face. When I got a little closer, I called out, "Dylan? Dylan, is that you?" As I approached, one of the police officers turned around, and before I could catch a glimpse, he held me back. "I'm sorry, miss, but we can't allow you near him. Please keep your distance." I called out again, "Dylan, it's me, Katie. You don't need to fight them. We can work this all out." They finally got him under control and piled him into the back of the police van before driving off. I could still hear him kicking and shouting inside. After the police drove off, there was an eerie calm, with nothing to be seen or heard apart from a handful of people peeking out of their windows to see what all the fuss was about. I began feeling conspicuous, so I ran back inside. When I did, I found Caitlin, who had returned from the party at the other dorm and was looking bewildered as to why the door was wide open with nobody inside. Once again, she was the one who had to calm me down and stop me from panicking. We stayed awake for hours, talking about what had happened and rehashing all the conversations we had over the last week or so. At about 8 a.m., I was more relaxed, tired, and ready for bed. I was about to get some much-needed rest when Caitlin turned on the campus radio to see if there were any reports on what had happened. When I heard the report, I simply didn't know how to react. Campus police have reported that they apprehended an intruder outside the Northgate dormitories in the early hours of this morning. The man had been identified as 28-year-old Walter Lynch of Seattle, Washington. The police have confirmed that he is the suspect they were looking for in relation to the recent trespassing incidents and attempted break-ins on campus. The head of security at the university has expressed satisfaction at the arrest and wants to reassure students and faculty that UC Davis is a safe place in which to study and work. Me and Caitlin exchanged silent glances. She seemed mainly relieved, but for me, it was a maelstrom of emotions. Of course, relief that he had been caught and that it wasn't Dylan. But if it wasn't him trying to get in, then what the hell was up with that message he sent me? How am I going to see my actions have consequences? My mind immediately turned to my next trip to Modesto, which happens 5 days from now. I'm just as apprehensive about it now as I was when I booked it, but my mind is made up. I'm going to end this once and for all.
That was the penultimate entry in the diary. The only other entry we found was a scribbled note a few pages later which simply read, "I'm sorry. Goodbye." Katie was last seen by her classmates when she hurriedly left a class they were all attending. They were studying spinal injuries, which included some pictures and details of recent suicide victims. She had been studying medicine for a few years and had a pretty strong stomach for it, so her classmates were surprised to see her get upset at pictures of hanging victims. We're not sure if it's connected to her disappearance, but one of her classmates swears Katie recognized one of the people in the photographs.